Welcome to the 6th and final episode in this podcast series, So You Want to Start a Science Podcast, a collaboration between Welcome Connecting Science and the Your Digital Mentor podcast series. To wrap up the series, we're talking about analytics, how to measure your podcast success, adapt your audience, and prepare for growth. It's time to understand how you can use your data to take your podcast to the next level. So why do analytics matter for podcasters? Put simply, they help you gauge how well your content is resonating with your audience. By tracking key performance indicators, also known as KPIs, like downloads, listener retention, and engagement rates, you can see what's working and what's not. This can help you better tailor your content to your audience, and it can help you meet your equality, diversity, and inclusivity goals by showing you who's listening. Some of the key metrics you might want to focus on include downloads, listens, or streams. This gives you an idea of the popularity and reach of your podcast. Listener retention. This tells you how long people are sticking around. Are they finishing episodes? If not, could you do anything to keep their interest for longer? And your engagement rates. Are people sharing, commenting on, or interacting with your content? If they are, it shows you that people feel value in the insights you provide. They're willing to participate in the conversations you're hosting. Here's Desmond from the Global Health Unfiltered podcast talking about how analytics helped him gain insights into his content. He also explains how their choice to use an unfiltered style, that is, a more raw and honest approach, benefited their audience podcaster connection.
From our metrics, we find that content that is unfiltered tends to do better than the typical content. So that has actually helped us. We alternate because both of those contents are important. So we tend now to do one unfiltered episode and then one less unfiltered episode.
So there's just one example of how the Global Health Unfiltered podcast producers used analytics to pivot their content type and tone. Here's Ruth from the My Science Journey podcast, talking about how she monitors growth and why.
We look at the metrics in terms of YouTube. So what is the average listening duration? Do we have listener retention and audience growth? We look at how the audience is growing every day. So if we have, increased audience growth, then it means that we are doing something right. If there is stagnation, then it means we need to work on something. The other aspect that we look at is also, do participants engage with the host? If they are just silent throughout, even when you're inviting them to ask questions, then it's a question mark.
That was Ruth from My Science Journey sharing her thoughts on podcast growth. She also shared a great example of how it's important to read more than just direct feedback when analysing your podcast success. Now let's talk about some of the tools that you can use to monitor these metrics on a budget. If you're using Spotify for podcasters or Anchor to host your series, both offer built-in analytics tools that can give you insights into your audience. For instance, you can see the number of streams, listener demographics, and episode performance. Here's Desmond again, talking about the challenges of analysing certain metrics, like listener retention.
Listener retention is a bit harder to capture because just because a podcast is downloaded doesn't mean that it's actually listened to or listened to in full. So to get listener retention, we typically go to like Apple Podcasts, analytics, and then we'll look at each episode and it gives you a summary of when people are dropping off. So you can see that, okay, maybe at the 10-minute mark, people dropped out. And then you can go back and figure out, okay, what was happening at that particular mark that people dropped out significantly.
Sometimes you have to make do with the information that's available, and choosing the right podcast distribution platform can help. For broader insights beyond just the podcasting platform, Google Analytics is another free tool. While it's more focused on web traffic, it can tell you exactly how many people are visiting your podcast's webpage or landing page if you have one. If you're looking for something more tailored to podcasts, Chartable is an excellent choice. It provides detailed audience tracking and show performance data, and even helps you optimize your marketing strategies. As usual, links to all the resources we've mentioned are linked in the description box below. Metrics are important, but so is direct feedback from your listeners. One way to gather feedback is through surveys on social media. Another is to directly ask your mailing list subscribers to contact you with their thoughts. What do they like? And what don't they like? What would they like to hear more of? You could even host a focus group or in-person feedback session with friends or colleagues. But here's another important point. Silence is still feedback. If you're not getting responses to your surveys or emails, it might be time to revise your content or engagement strategy. You could pivot the type of content you produce, adjust your tone of style, or even reconsider your episode length and release frequency. Just keep your audience in mind every step of the way, and don't be afraid to listen to their needs. With the right planning, quality of recording, and use of analytics, there's no reason your podcast can't grow. But to handle that growth effectively, you need to prepare for this scenario. Here are some tips to help you prepare for scalability. 1. Create a content calendar. Plan out your episodes and release dates months in advance. This helps ensure consistency and takes the pressure off last-minute production. It also helps safeguard your podcast against technical issues like power outages, limited resource access, or times of personal hardship that take priority. 2. Batch record or schedule your releases. Recording multiple episodes in one sitting can help you prepare and manage your time. You can use tools like Hootsuite or Canva to schedule promotional social media posts. This way, you always have content ready to go, even if something unexpected comes up. 3. Plan for future funding. Consider collaborations or sponsorships as your audience grows. And remember, the more performance data you collect, the easier it is to show potential collaborators and funders the value of working with you. Now, let's get interactive. Why don't you head over to Poll Everywhere using the link in the description box below. We've created a quiz with questions about podcast analytics. Things like, what metric is most important for measuring listener engagement? Or, how can demographic data help you tailor your content? Why not test yourself with this fun activity to explore what you've learned in this episode? As we wrap up this episode, and indeed the series, the Your Digital Mentor podcast and Welcome Connecting Science teams want to thank each and every one of you for joining us and listening along. We hope these episodes have given you the confidence to start podcasting and to achieve your goals. Whether you're interested in your own career development, the dissemination of scientific knowledge, or the promotion of public health, we wish you all the best in your podcasting endeavours. And of course, in the spirit of this episode, we'd love your feedback on this series. Let us know what you enjoyed, what we can improve, and what you'd like to hear more of. Oh, and don't forget, check out the Your Digital Mentor podcast for more insights on mentorship in the world of science communication. Happy podcasting.